Hi everyone and welcome back here. Let's start with the lighting. We finished the material section and now we need to learn something about light and how can we use the light. You remember we have two engine here, the cycle and EV, and we have this engine, render engine. We're not gonna use it. It will give you a result like what you see here in the 3D viewport, so I'm not going to talk about this. Alright, let's start with the cycle and let's see how can we add a light here. If we need to add a light, you can go to add and go to light section and add these lights. You can choose whatever one you need and you can hit shift A to access this menu and choose light. So for me, I'm going to choose the point light, and now we have a point light in the position of the 3D cursor. I'm going to hit G and take this light up. So this light is called, let's go to the section here, it's called point light, and this is the parameters. This first section here, it will give you a quick preview about the light and the strength and the reach of the light. So you can, for example, depend on this, but not so much because the result is not always accurate here. And this is the setting of the light. Here we have the color, power, radius, and max bounces. And here we have cast shadow. And here we have the multiple importance. Okay, now let's go to the render. I just made a quick scene here. Susan had and some design here in this room. And I gave this box the real dimension of a room. And now let's see and go to render and let's see what we will get. I'm not going to render in big view like this. I prefer to split this view to two. I think that will be better, and render here. Let's hide this menu, hit N, and here I'm going to hit Z to jump to the render. Alright, so now as you can see, now I illuminated the scene with the point light. So, alright, the color is self-explanatory. You just change the color of the light, red, green, whatever color. Let's take this back to white. And here we have the power. The power, it's obvious, the power of the light. Let's change this to 100. Now the light become more bright. Let's take this back to 10. And here we have the radius. The radius will not affect the power. If you increase the radius, for example, like this, that's not gonna affect the power too much, but the radius will affect the sharpness of the shadow. So for example, I'm going to hit G to move the light, for example, right here on this side, something like this, close to the wall, and let's make the radius very, very small. Alright, now let's go to the shadow of the Susan head and let's see what you will have. I'm going to hit Control B to render just a small area like this. Alright, let's give this just a moment. Okay, now as you see, the shadow now become sharper. Why? Because we changed the radius and make it small. But if we change the radius and make it big like this, let's check the shadow. As you see now, the shadow now becomes smoother. So you can use the radius to control the sharpness or the smoothness of the shadow. Alright, so cast shadow, if you turn this option off, you will lose the shadow. So this option will turn on and off the shadow. And here multiple importance. If you hover over here and this just hold your mouse just a little bit, you will see a notice here tells you use multiple importance sampling for the light, reduce noise. So this option will help you to reduce the noise and help you to get sharp glossiness, but that will affect the render time. But leave it like this on as default. Here we have the max bounces. The number of bounces the light will have. I mean, the rays that goes out from the light when the rays hit the wall, for example, the same ray here that reached to this point will bounce again to hit any other object. For example, we can see that we have a bit red shadow here in this area because the lights, the rays, when they hit this wall, they came back to hit the Suzanne head. Because of that, we can see that we have some reddish shadow right here. So this is the number of bounces, how many times the rays will be bounced around the scene to illuminate it, to see some a bit bright shadow. Let's take this to 0 and let's see what we will have. So I'm going to take this back to 0. Now the scene become dark because we don't have much bounces. So I'm going to hit Control Z, and now it's become brighter. So let's leave these numbers as the defaults, and this is how to use point light. Alright, now let's go to the sun light. Let's hit Control Alt B to get rid of this small region, and I'm going to turn off the points in the render and the viewport, and hit Shift A, and let's add a sunlight here. Alright, that's cool. Now we have a sunlight. I just forget to delete this light. I don't need it for now. This comes default when you create a new scene. Let's focus on the sunlight. The sunlight give me parallel light like this. The light that comes from the sun is not goes exactly from this point, because the sun is very, very far away from Earth. Because of that, the light that hit us like this, the rays will be parallel. So changing the position of the sun, that will not affect the shadow. But if you rotate the sun, that will matter. So now when I made some rotation, I can see that I have some light here hitting the room. But if I move this, even if I put this inside the room, I can't see anything. Okay, so don't worry about putting the sun close by your building or your design. Is something okay. You don't need to push it far, far away from the scene. You can put it, for example, right here, and you just need to control the rotation. So I'm going to rotate it like this, and maybe rotate it with the Z just a little bit like this. Right. Right now, let's go here inside. That's cool. Now we have some sunlight. That's cool. I can go to the camera. I have a camera here. This is 0. Alright, the parameter of sun almost similar to the point light. Here we have the strength. If you push this further, the sunlight will become strong. And here we have the angle. The angle, this option will help you to smooth out the shadow. If I push this just a little bit farther like this to 12 or to 13, now the shadow becomes smoother. That means you have the ability to control the smoothness by changing the number here in the angle. Alright, the max bounces, the same scenario for the point. You can leave this number as is, you don't need to change it. And here we have the same scenario, cause shadow, and the same parameter that we found in the point light. Okay, now let's jump to the spotlight. Let's see what is the spotlight. Let's turn off the sunlight, and let's bring the 3D cursor right here. Sorry, 3D cursor. Yeah, let's put it right here. Hit Shift A to add the spotlight. Alright, spotlight, it's directional light. Here we have a cone and the light will be surrounded inside this cone. And we have here some option. Color, the same scenario. Power, radius here will make the shadow sharp or smooth. And the max bounces, I'm not going to talk about this. Let's go to beam here, beam shape. The spot size, if you increase this number, you will make the cone big, the cone base. Or you can take this down to make the cone base smaller. Alright, here we have the blend. For example, if let's make this a little bit big. The blend will give you the ability to get to control the transmission from the area, the center, the brightest area of the spotlight, and as it goes away from the center. So you can control it to understand how this works. As you can see, let's make this a bit brighter. Let's push this, for example, to 50, or maybe let's add 100 to make it bright, to understand that better. So let's take this back to 0. Alright, now as you see, now the lights become sharp here. This is the end of the cone and the end of the lights, and this is the center. This is the brightest area. We don't have any transmission here. Okay, now let's push this to 1. Now we have this transmission here, as you see. This parameter right here is almost give you the same result of the radius that we have here. It is not like it, but let's say almost. Let's hover over here and let's hit backspace to switch this number to default. By the way, if you hover over any option here and hit backspace, you will switch the number to the default. Alright, that's cool. So this is about the spotlight. It's very easy. Let's turn off the spotlight as well, and let's create a new one. Let's create this time the area light. The area lights will give you a square light like this, and this square is controllable. If you grab the corner, you can make it big like this, or small, as you see here. Here we have some parameters. We have the size to control the size of the light, and let's see what we have here. And here we have the shape. If you want to change the shape of the light to be square, to be a rectangle, now it's become rectangle, to be, for example, like a disc or ellipse like this. So these options you have here, we can use them. And here we have this nice option right here. Okay, now the light, this area light, just need to demonstrate something here. The lighting now is coming like this. So now you notice here the shadow here in this area means that this light, it's not attached to the roof, and we have some space. So this area of light, the beginning of the light, that means it tells you that, or let's say it's aligned with the level of the light. Where is the light here in the Z space? If you increase the number right here of the spread, you will make this area lights directional. If you increase this just a little bit, you will make the light start from here, and all of this will be shadow. If you push this even more, the light will start from here until you will make the light like square like this. Let's push this back. So let's take this back, the angle, and check what's happened. Let's take this back to 0. Now it's become like a window or emitting some light from the sun. So this is the option. You can control it if you like. If you don't like the If you don't want the light to act like this, you can push just a little bit like this to have better results if you prefer this. Alright, let's take this bag, just hover over here, hit backspace, and there we go. Alright, let's talk about this important ball that we have here. This is very nice. You can use it to control the direction of the light. So I'm going to hover over this ball and I'm going to hit left click and move left and right. As you see now, the light now following the mouse. So let's hit right click to leave it back to the same direction. I will hit, you can hit Shift T for shortcut if you want to control the light. That means there's no necessary to grab it from here. Just select the light and hit Shift T and move the light or change the direction of the light. And there is another usage. If you hit left click and move the light, you can hit Control to position the light in any place you like. As you see here, I am controlling the light. If I put the mouse on this wall, it will illuminate the wall from here. If I put it right here, it will illuminate this here with the ground. So this is a nice option if you want to rotate the light quickly. Alright, so this is the arrow light, and this is how we can use it. Here in the environment section, we have some light for the environments. I'm going to turn off the arrow light here, and let's go to the environment. Here we have the color. Let's change the color to something white, for example. Now we just illuminated the scene from the environment color here. Here we have the strength. You can control the strength as well. Okay, so this is a nice quick way to have some lighting from the environment if you like. You can use node here in this in the environment color. For example, if I hit left click on this node here, I can add sky texture, this one right here, and now we have sky. Okay, here we have some nice option, and here we have some option as well. This option have some parameters, nice parameters we can use, and let's see how they are work. Here we have the SanDisk. If you want to see that SanDisk or hide it, you can turn this on and off. But we can't see the SanDisk because it's very, very bright. Okay, here we have the sun size. From this parameter, we can control the sun size, the sun intensity, the strength of the light of the sun elevation. This will control the distance between the sun and the ground. And here we have the sun rotation. So let's use it because I just need to see the light of the sun. The sun is almost right here in this area. Okay, so let's rotate the sun. Alright, now I can see some lighting here hitting the room. Alright, that's cool. And don't forget, I didn't activate the sunlight. I just added sky texture, all of these parameters inside the sky texture. So you can, here I mean you have two options. Either you use the sunlight, choose it from the light menu, or you can use the sky texture. And as you see, it is very nice result we have here. Let's start with the sun size. The sun size will affect the shadow and it will make the power a bit less. If I take this farther just a little bit, let's take this just a little bit like this to 30 for example. Notice here now the strength, the brightness now become less, and we got here soft shadow here in this area. So the size will affect the shadow. Let's hover over here and let's hit backspace to take this number to default. Sun intensity, if you take this down, you will make the strength less of the sun itself, not the sky, because there is a difference You have a sky and you have a lighting of the sky itself, and you have the light of the sun. If I take the intensity back to zero, now we don't have any direct lighting, but we have indirect lighting coming from the sky, and this light have a little bit of blue color mixed with it. Okay, so just keep this in your mind. This control the sunlight, the directional light. Okay, so let's take this forward just a little bit. Let's add point one. Okay, this is cool. The sun elevation, this will control the angle of the sun. I mean, if I draw a line like this, let's assume this is the ground, and here we have some building on the ground, and the sun, if 15 degree we have here, that means the sun is here in this area. Give us lighting like this. Okay, so this is the room, our room. If I take this further, the sun will be pushed like this. It will be here. If I take this even more, it will be here. It will be here. So that will control the angle of the sun, the elevation. Let's see what will happen. Let's take this to 50. Now the sun become a vertical on the building like this. This is the sun, and this is the building. Okay, so you got the idea. Let's take this back to maybe 10. And keep in your mind, when you push this, let's take this back, for example, to 50. Now notice here the color of the sun is changed as well, and that's something real, by the way. If you add a very narrow angle here, for example 5, it is either sunset or sunrise, and in the sunset and sunrise, the light of the sun, it's a bit warm and have some yellowish color with it. So this result is realistic. So keep in your mind the color of the sun. You can say it's controlled by the angle. It's depend on the angle itself of the sun. The sun rotation is self-explanatory. The direction of the sun from where you need the sun to be. Okay. The altitude here, it's the distance or the height of the sun from the sea level. Here we have the air, the density of the air. If I let's take this number forward just a little bit and let's see what we'll have. Now the air become thick, and that will affect the photons of light. And now we got very warm day looking, and now we can see the disk of the sun because the air has become too thick. If I take this back, the sun will become bright and I will lose the disk. And by the way, this option, when we started explaining the options of the sun, this one will hide the disk, if you remember. So here we have nice option of the air. Here we have dust. If you can make the weather dusty, and here we have the ozone effect. All right, so here we have very nice controllers here. Here we have the ability to make the sky itself bright or not. This parameter here is not necessary to be linked with the sun itself, but that makes sense. If the sky very much bright, that means the sun will be bright as well. So if we take this further, we can note that the brightness of the sun is increased with it. Alright, so this one will control the brightness of the sky itself. Keep that in mind. Okay, now let's check these two options, the rhythm. This another way to visualize the sky. Here we have this ball. You can click and hold to control the light of the sun. All right, so you can control the direction. All right, now the sun comes from this direction. And here we have some option. The turbidity, that will affect the weather itself. Okay, and here we have the strength of the sky itself if you increase it. And here we have another option, Hosik and Wolke, maybe. And here we have the same, almost the same option. We can control the direction of the sun from where by using this ball. And here we have the turbidity that will affect the weather and make it thick. If we take this down to 1 now, check what's happened to the weather. Let's increase this to 10. The ground albedo, if you take this to 0, for example, that's mean the color now of the ground will not affect the weather and the sky itself. Now we almost separated the color of the sky from the color of the ground by using the ground albedo. Let's take this to 1. Now the color of the ground affected the weather in general. Let's take this back to default. Just hover over here and hit backspace. And here we have the strength of the sky. We can make it strong. So as you see now, we can say this option, the third one, is the best option. And here we have more controls. We can create very nice scenes just with this sky texture and this option. So this is how to use the sky texture with the sunlight inside the environment section here. Okay, so that will do it for this video, and see you in the next one.